This is my game for the Fix the Game project called Slide Bingo. So starting off with the abstract and audience, Slide Bingo is an enhanced version of the classic game of bingo that allows players to have more choice. Players are able to slide around the numbers on their card while they're playing to allow for more choice and strategy, more ways to win, and more head-to-head competition that's player-centered. And I still want to stay true to the roots of bingo, and to do this we have to think of the intended audience of bingo: older adults. And these are the people who usually play bingo. So as will become apparent in later slides, I tailored the game specifically to this age group by making a slower paced game that has easy to understand rules. Next, we'll talk about the components of Slide Bingo. On the left is a sample board that is used. What is different from a traditional bingo board is that the numbers are not printed on the board. Instead, the tiles on the right will be placed onto the board, with the letter, number, and color showing. When a letter or number combination is called, the tile will be flipped over, showing just the letter and color on the back to differentiate which tiles have already been called. Were this game to be produced, a board with lips on the edges would help the tiles stay on the board, and the tiles would work best if they were fully colored and made similar to those of Scrabble. So now we'll talk about the rules of Slide Bingo. As mentioned, this game works as a slide puzzle. A minimum of 2 players are needed for this game, and they will play 3 rounds. If 3 players play, there will be 4 rounds. And this can be generalized to play 1 more round than the number of players. I only play tested with 1 other person, so through balancing, this number might have to be adjusted as group sizes increase. To set up the board, players will randomly draw tiles, and each letter in position, from each letter in position, and they'll place these in their respective starting columns. So you'll put 5 B's in the B column, and here's where we see the first change from bingo, or one of the first changes. In the I column, we're actually only going to put 4. And we're going to leave an empty space in the middle, and that'll come into play later. Then we'll put 5 in the N column, 4 in the G column, similar to that of the I column, and then 5 in the O column. The traditional free space in bingo we see here is filled in with the N, and instead there's going to be that tile missing from the center of the I column and the center of the G column, which leaves 2 empty spaces there. So then play would begin. The caller would read a number and a letter, and if the player has that number or letter combo, they would flip it over on their board, and they can choose to slide up to 1 tile on their board, either up, down, left, or right. And players who do not have that number or letter combination may choose to slide up to 2 tiles on their board, either up, down, left, or right. And play repeats until a player gets bingo. And since this is turn-based, based on the numbers being called out one at a time, it is possible for multiple players to call bingo on the same turn. And to achieve bingo, since there are different combinations with moving around tiles, there's a scoring system that I added to this. And this scoring system will probably need to be balanced through future plays, but we did make a change during our first play test that we had just to balance it out a little bit more. As you'll see as I explain later, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, we decided to knock down the point value of the 4-point bingo down to 3 points. We thought that would work better. So here's just a rundown of the different ways to score bingo. So you earn 1 point for any horizontal, vertical, or diagonal combination of the letters B, I, N, G, and O, as long as they are not spelled in order of bingo, and there is not one of each. So as we see here in the example, horizontally, we have 1 B, 2 N's, and I and an O. So obviously not in spelling order of bingo, and also there are 2 N's, so there's not one of each. Next case is 2 points, and 2 points are awarded for making bingo with one of each of the letters in bingo, but not spelled out as B-I-N-G-O. So here, going with the horizontal again, we have B-N-I-O-G. So obviously not spelled out B-I-N-G-O, but you still use only one of each letter, and that's going to earn you 2 points. Next is the 2 cases where you can earn 3 points. The first way you can earn 3 points is if you make bingo with 1 set of letters. Now in this image I have more than 5 B's, but this is just to show you the different ways that you can get it, either vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. And in this case, it's all of 1 set of letters, so all the B's. And this is the only time that the empty squares can be used to win bingo. What I mean by this is, since you have only 4 I's and 4 G's, if you wanted to get a bingo in this way, you're allowed to. If you had 4 I's in a row and then the last one was an empty square, that would count as bingo, just because technically you don't have that 5th I tile or that 5th G tile, so it would be difficult to get bingo in this way with those letter combinations. And then the final way to earn a bingo and earn 3 points is if you make bingo that reads bingo from left to right, top to bottom, either the top left to bottom right on the diagonal or the bottom left to the top right on the diagonal. And the player with the most points after the number of rounds is the winner. And if there is a tie, the player who scored the most points in a single round is the winner. And if that is still tied, then players can play another round until that tie is broken. So now I'd just like to leave off with some closing thoughts. I want to explain some of my design choices and hopefully address some questions that might have come up while I was explaining the game. So normally bingo is a game solely based on chance. And while there still is a chance element in this game, being able to move around the tiles makes players have more agency in the game. And they can choose to use their slides or not. And both of these are useful options. At the beginning of the game, if you have slides, you might not want to use them because you don't know where your first tile is going to be. So both of these are valid options. Or maybe you have some tiles in a row and you don't want to mess that row up. So there's ways that you will or will not use those slides. And I also want to stress the fact of how important the audience is in this variant of the game. I could have easily made this game much more complicated for allowing as many slides as players want, and that would turn into a race of who can slide their tiles around the fastest to get bingo, which is not what most older adults are looking for when they're playing a game of bingo. They're looking for something a bit slower paced that they can just follow along as it is and maybe just talk to other people. And additionally, suggested to allow for these slides to carry over to future turns and maybe to have some tiles be fixed in place and not be able to slide. And while these were both interesting mechanics, trying to remember the number of slides one has between hearing what number is called, and it's just a lot of information to process, especially for this audience. So that may become confusing, and that's why I decided not to include those elements. Were this game to be for a younger audience, it might be an interesting concept to add in, but just not for this audience.
To end, I just want to do a brief little demonstration of the game and just show you how it works. So here we have bingo numbers on the screen right here. So we start with N33. As you can see here on the card, we have N33. So we're going to take that and we will flip it over to the other side. So we have N. And then we could technically move one. So I'm going to slide this one down just to start working the N more towards the center to hopefully get that better. So now it's I-27. We actually have I-27 as well. So I will take that right here and I will flip that over and then put that back. And then once again, I can slide up to one tile. So I'm going to I'll slide this one right here over one. Next number is 065. So wow, on a good streak here. We've got a third one. So we'll flip that one. And then now what I want to do is I want to start getting these closer together to hopefully make bingo. So I'm going to move this one over, this tile right there. So next number is B11. So I actually don't have B11. And since I don't have B11, I'm going to take this opportunity to start sliding. I can slide two tiles. So I'm going to slide this I'm going to slide it up one, and then I'm going to slide it up one more to right there. We call the next number N37. We don't have that, so we can slide two more tiles. So we'll go 1, 2. We call the next number 075. We don't have that, so I will slide one tile. And then I'm only going to slide one tile this time. I'm going to make that choice because you don't have to slide all two. So I'm just going to slide one. We'll call the next number I-18. We have that. So we will flip that over. Next number will be G55. And just in the essence of time here, because this could play out for we don't know how long, just based on the number of numbers that are called. So theoretically, if I had gotten this I right here, if I had swapped it with enough tiles and slid these around, I could do that. And then if I had gotten, maybe they called G50 at some point. If they had called that, then maybe I would swap these around, and that right there could be bingo, I-I-N-G-O. And then based on our scoring, that would be 1 point because it's not in the spelling order of bingo and it's not all of one letter. And that's just a demonstration of how this game works. That's Slide Bingo. Thank you.